Hey guys, this is the Revolutionary Male. My name is Alex. Welcome back to another video. As you can tell, I've been out in the sun today. Got a little bit of redness in here on my face. But let that not distract you from my otherwise gorgeous good looks. Today I'm going to go ahead and get into an article, this time from Vogue magazine, or Vogue.com I guess more specifically. It's an opinion piece entitled Why It's Time to Believe Amber Heard. Written by Ravensmith. I don't know if that's her real name or not. Published on May 17th, 2022. So let's go ahead and get into this. It's a unique title, Why It's Time to Believe Amber Heard. I'm not sure if she means that it's time to believe Amber Heard because she hasn't believed Amber Heard up until this point. It's unusual. But let's see what she actually argues, the point that she makes here in the article. If I had to speculate, I would guess that she's going to make the argument that it was a toxic relationship where they both seemed to be at fault for the toxicity, and because of women being victimized, supposedly being victimized more than men, or being more likely to be victimized than men, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's why she wants to believe Amber Heard now. We need to believe Amber Heard because we should believe women when they tell us that they are abused. We should, regardless of the evidence. Because if you've observed any of the trial, it should be very clear to you that who the abuser is in this relationship. Listening to those audio recordings, 45-minute audio recordings of their arguments, it is quite clear in those audio tapes who is the abuser in that relationship. But let's go ahead and see what she says. Where to begin with the online cesspit that is Depp v. Heard? Unless you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, you'll know that the ex-spouses are back in court. Johnny Depp is seeking damages of $50 million after Amber Heard wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post in 2018 in which she spoke of being a victim of domestic abuse without ever explicitly naming Depp. Yes, she didn't explicitly name Depp, but it's quite clear who she was talking about because I believe she refers to her abuser, her domestic abuser, as her ex-husband. So it's pretty clear who she was referencing in that article. Not to mention that the ACLU partnered with her to publish this article because they wanted to make her the face of domestic violence, or I can't remember the specific term they used, gender violence in the country. They wanted to make her the face of gendered violence, the face of domestic violence in America. Think about that. Think about how absolutely crazy that is. That this woman, who is quite clearly now, as we see from the actual evidence, not an abuse victim. Certainly not in this relationship anyhow. Continuing. The minutiae being combed through at the trial has come to feel less like a lawsuit and more like a torturous exorcism of the past. A thorough and painful raking over the coals of their 4-year entanglement. Well, it doesn't really matter what it feels like, it matters what it is. And what it is a court case where the basic argument is about whether or not Johnny Depp actually abused her, because if he did not abuse her, then she defamed him in her Washington Post op-ed. It's quite clear. And also, the fact that she uses the word entanglement is ridiculous. They were married. They were husband and wife. So I don't know, there's something suspicious about her use of the word entanglement. They were husband and wife, okay? They had a very formal relationship. And also, like, we have to go through the details of their relationship. We have to do a torturous exorcism of the past because that's what we have to examine, the evidence of their relationship to determine the reality of the situation. That's the way that this works. It's not supposed to be fun or entertaining or like stimulating. The details of both Depp and Heard's testimonies are harrowing all by themselves. Gruesome, violent, and containing deeply intimate anecdotes about their relationship. Broadly speaking, witness testimonies can be persuasive, and with 2 actors in the dock, we can never be sure of the absolute truth. So again, here we go. We cannot be sure of the absolute truth. Of course we can't be sure of the absolute truth. That's not the standard here. The standard is what's the evidence say? We're not, we're not trying to determine whether or not God exists. We're trying to determine the nature of a relationship between a man and a woman based on the evidence provided, the evidence of their relationship. The standard that she's using is ridiculous. And she's only using this standard so that she can absolve Amber Heard of all responsibility, and she can assign a certain amount of responsibility to Johnny Depp and bend and twist reality into whatever form that she wants. That's why she's trying to hold it to this standard of absolute truth rather than what does the evidence say. Not to mention talking about the fact that they're both actors. If you've watched any of the testimony, you can quite clearly see a big difference between the testimony that Depp provided and the testimony that Heard provided. Depp is persuasive and charismatic and easy to follow. He's very, very simple and explains things relatively easily. He's genuine and compelling, whereas Heard is all over the place, very, very vague. She's trying to say that words, she's trying to change the meaning of different words. Like when she was asked about her, she was supposed to have donated $7 million to the ACLU, I believe it was. And it turned out that while she pledged, not $7 million, I think it was $3 million. She pledged $3 million to the ACLU, but never actually donated it. And on the stand, she said that she uses donated and pledged interchangeably. They're not the same words. They're not synonyms. They don't mean even remotely the same thing. So people are actually being exposed to the evidence now, and that's what's changing the conversation about this court case. And that's why writers like Raven Smith here have to try and mold and shape reality into some other form, because they would rather completely change reality than accept the facts in front of them. The details of both Depp and Heard's testimonies, I read that already, sorry. Still, despite the fact that London's High Court previously found allegations that Depp was a wife-beater to be substantially true, the internet appears to have overwhelmingly picked Depp's side. Well, yeah, because the evidence was not provided in the UK case. They didn't see any of this evidence. It was kept out of the case. That's the only way they were able to make that determination, that it was substantially true that he was a wife-beater. Because they weren't allowed to use any of this evidence that's now being made public through this trial in Virginia. So for her to frame it this way is completely disingenuous. And you can see the argument that she's trying to make here. She's not acting in good faith. Raven, you're not acting in good faith here. You're trying to manipulate your audience. And we see through you. Just as so many people online see through Amber Heard now that they've been exposed to the actual evidence of the case. Let's continue. Last week, justice for Johnny Depp was trending on Twitter. Yesterday, it was Amber Heard. Go on social media, and the anti-Heard sentiment is palpable. God forbid. The memes have been ferocious, sometimes consisting of a spot the difference comparison with the domestic abuse victims. At other times, televised courtroom footage has been appropriated to openly mock her appearance. God forbid. So what? Is this some kind of terrible crime? Is this some kind of misogynistic hate that is completely ridiculous and beyond the pale? I don't think so. You're a public figure. You're going to be mocked. It's inevitable. Deal with it. Unreal. How about this? How about being falsely accused of being a wife beater? Is that ferocious? Raven, I posit that question to you. Is being falsely accused of being a wife beater and having your professional career destroyed, potentially destroyed forever, is that ferocious? Is that anti-Depp sentiment palpable to you? See the standards that we're working with here, folks? It's completely unfair. And she's not acting in good faith. She continues. It is plain misogyny. There we have it. The company behind the makeup compact Heard used to hide her bruises even made a TikTok disputing her claims. Look at the way she frames that. She doesn't even say Heard alleges. The way the sentence should be written is the company behind the makeup compact Heard allegedly used to hide her bruises even made a TikTok disputing her claims. So the background of that issue is the company that the Heard said she used a particular brand of makeup to hide the bruises from Depp hitting her. The makeup company came out and said that they didn't actually produce that makeup, the one that she claimed that she was using, until a couple of years later. So her claim was untrue. And think about the fact that, look at this article. The writer, Raven, doesn't even make it clear what she's talking about. She doesn't provide the actual evidence or the original claim Heard made, because that would put Heard in a bad light. It would display that Heard is lying, that she's dishonest, that she doesn't have any credibility to be taken at face value, and therefore should not be believed. Because if you're going to be believed, you have to have evidence and credibility. We can't just take your word for it, especially with things this serious. It's not fair. Heard is being systematically jeered at and ridiculed like a medieval criminal in the stocks as she catalogs historic abuse, as she alleges rape. This is all part of being a public figure. You have to deal with it. I don't know what else to tell you. If you're going to make the kinds of claims that she has made, as far as I can tell, completely unfounded claims, then you have to deal with the consequences of your actions. She brought this on herself. As far as I can tell, she's not an innocent victim here. Have we completely lost track of the severity of these allegations? No, we haven't completely lost track of the severity of the allegations. We have realized that the allegations are unfounded because they're not based in evidence. That's the reality here. And we are coming to appreciate the severity of the false allegations against Johnny Depp. She continues again. We all understand that Depp fans will side with Depp. Are there people out there like that? Probably. But I doubt there's a lot of them, given how compelling the evidence is. But even the less aggressively Depp-pilled of us want to believe that the Caribbean pirate is blameless, if not squeaky clean, then at least under the duress of drug addiction or acting out of character, that his violence can be somewhat explained away by a lapse of judgment or circumstance or both. That's ridiculous. She is framing this in a completely unjustified way. This is almost, again, further defamation of him. It's unreal. Unreal. She continues, we certainly don't want to believe that this entire court case is a precise and conniving operation in discrediting Heard, regardless of what she has to say, regardless of her truth. Her truth. There's no such thing as your truth, my truth. There's objective reality, and then there's our individual ability to appreciate or understand objective reality. That's the way the world works. There's no individual truth here. There's your experience. You may have your experience, but it's not your truth. And not to mention that if you are going to make false allegations, then you better expect an entire court case, as this woman says, that being a precise and conniving operation in discrediting you. What do you expect? You have to accept the consequences of your actions. Amber Heard brought this on herself. We only have 4 paragraphs left. Let's go ahead and get through the rest of this. I don't want to think about what this is saying to victims of abuse who are considering coming forward. What about what it says to victims of abuse who see themselves in Johnny Depp? What about victims of abuse who see themselves in Amber Heard? Who see their abusers in Amber Heard? How about that? And regardless of what Heard did or didn't suffer at the hands of Depp, isn't the relentless memeing of her a form of violence in itself? No. She is a public figure. It's not a form of violence. This is ridiculous. See the standard here? What about the relentless ridicule, mockery, and destruction of his life that Johnny Depp suffered? How about that? Is that violence? Feminists like this woman don't believe in equality, because if they did, they wouldn't be making this completely bad faith argument. This is ridiculous. Unreal. And let's continue. Is the pummeling by social media not a type of psychological assault? No, it's not. Can it be? Yes. In this case, no. She made a choice. Now she's dealing with the consequences of her actions. It's accountability, folks. You got to deal with it. Are we not witnessing a modern-day witch trial? No, we are not. We are not witnessing a modern-day witch trial. What a joke. Amber Heard is not an innocent victim. There's no evidence to support these claims. And the writer doesn't offer any evidence to support her claims. It is amazing to me that these arguments would ever work on somebody, but they do. They really do. Because it's so ingrained into us at a biological level to protect women, even from their own bad choices, that this argument will completely circumvent the rational, logical side of the human mind and get people to buy into the belief that Amber Heard is the victim here. This stuff really works. And I should know because I used to think like this. Some weeks the internet is buoyant. All of us kept afloat by daft dresses and Kardashian weddings and Marvel actors saying they've never been in the same room. Other weeks it just feels too heavy. Well, take a break, Raven. Take a friggin' break. We're not worried about your feelings. We're watching people actively seek out humor in domestic abuse as Roe v. Wade is terrorized by pro-lifers, and as we see yet more episodes of racially aggravated violence. You can't deal with the complexity of the world, then maybe you shouldn't be a public figure or a political figure. Go away. Go live someplace else offline that doesn't deal with these things if you can't handle it. There are some people who can't handle this stuff, so they don't pay attention to it. Even myself, I will take breaks from producing YouTube videos or reading about this stuff or examining it in any way because it can be psychologically taxing. I understand. But if you can't handle it, go away. Walk away from it. We'll rally. We always rally, she says, but right here, right now, it feels shit. I spend a lot of time wondering if everyone's lost the plot. If the erosion of empathy we see online has rendered us so inherently unkind as a species that there's no return. Where's your empathy for Johnny Depp? The real victim here. As far as I can tell, the only person in this entire article who doesn't have any empathy is you, Raven. I don't want to despair for humanity, she writes. I want to believe that some of us are offline and mildly compassionate or compassionate in a way that doesn't get tweeted about. That you're all out there being nice to each other and I'm reporting on a tiny cluster of internet users with pitchforks. Though I felt myself veering toward it, I can no longer both sides this. There it is. There's the truth. She apparently in the past was both siding this. She was saying that they were both wrong. And now she can't do that anymore. Because there's so much evidence, apparently. It's so awful what the internet is doing to Amber Heard that despite the fact that she's quite clearly a personality disordered individual responsible for abusing and trying to destroy her ex-husband, we can't both sides it anymore. She's clearly the victim in this woman's mind. It's time to draw a line, she says. It's time to believe women. All women. There it is. It's time to believe Heard. The British courts believed Depp beat his ex-wife. What's stopping the rest of us? They didn't look at the evidence. It's not time to believe women. It's not time to believe all women. That's absurd. Back when a lot of these, I don't want to say the term, but the Me Too Many argument, at the time, people were making the argument that saying the hashtag believe women wasn't about believing all women, that it was about taking women's claims seriously, which I can agree with. We need to take their claims seriously, investigate them, and establish the evidence to determine the validity of those claims. That's due process. But now, feminists like Raven are trying to make the argument that we need to just believe women, all women. She writes it explicitly here. That is a recipe for disaster, because it completely ignores that women are perpetrators, that women are liars, just like men are liars, and they are capable of using the system, incentivized to protect them, as a weapon to destroy their enemies and destroy their victims, abuse their victims. So it's actually quite inspiring that so many people have turned, in this case, have turned to supporting Johnny Depp. And that gives me hope for humanity that Raven here is looking for. Because it says that, if you have the evidence, if you can provide the evidence, people will believe it. And that's great. But that's the end of the article, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button or the dislike button. I hear that engagement is the way that this works. Leave a comment, for the algorithm if you want. If you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and leave a comment or email me directly at therevolutionarymail@gmail.com. Again, my name is Alex. This has been The Revolutionary Mail. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed providing it to you. I look forward to seeing you guys again the next time.